Good morning, everybody. It is a good morning, isn't it? Yeah. Stop and think about it. What's good? First of all, you're awake, right? You're awake. And you're breathing, pretty sure. And you've managed to leave the comfort of your bed and your house and to go out in public wearing clothes. Or maybe you're watching online and that does not apply. Regardless of your clothing situation, you're awake and you're listening, right? Who here had food this morning? Or at least had access to food this morning? Okay? Who had coffee or tea or some other miracle in a mug? Right? That is fantastic. Who rode in a car or drove to get here this morning and made it here safely? Yep, that is excellent. Who walked or rode a bike? Anybody? We got one. We got one. It's awesome that we have the opportunity to drive. But for beautiful Sunny back there, she got to get here all on her own, and that is awesome. All of this stuff that's happening this morning is really, really good, right? But I want to look even deeper because I think there's stuff that we don't realize. And he's poking at the phone and I'm not sure why. Is it okay? Okay, we're all right. I want to look deeper. Okay, who here has been aware of some pain this morning? Okay, a twinge, an ache, just some kind of a reminder that your body's trying to send you. How many? Raise your hands. Keep them up. All right. Everybody look around. Do you see all those hands? Every single one of them is attached to a body which is perfectly doing its job. The body is telling them, ouch. It is saying, I am here and I am doing my very, very best to make sure that you can stay inside of here safely. Right? But I'm sending you a signal to remind you to pay attention to what you're doing and how you're doing it today. So that pain is awesome. Now, seriously, if your body stopped sending signals, I am fairly certain that you would not be celebrating this morning. At least not from inside a body. Now, a feeling body is an alive body. And that's good. So you feel pain, yes? You get another day in the life of you. Who here is worried about health? Who here has had some health concerns? That too means you're alive. Okay, is anybody here naked, hungry, uncaffeinated, and entirely physically numb? No. Not a one of you. So that is awesome. It means that you are perfectly poised at the threshold of a wonderful beginning. And to all of you here without a body, wow, how cool. I can't imagine how exciting it must be to travel without hardware bogging you down, right? So we're all here, in person or online, with or without bodies, and I'm able to stand with functional legs and feet, wearing not nearly as functional but really cute shoes. I get to stand up here on these gorgeous slate steps in one of the most beautiful and sacred buildings I've ever known, and I get to talk to you. And we have this incredible technology which allows my voice to be heard, not only in this room, but all over the world, via the internet. It's all here. It's all happening right now with all of us. And I can't think of anything better than this very moment. So good morning. Very incredibly good morning. We are here today for a third talk on gratitude. We're looking more deeply at what that means, and we think we understand it. We have been taught the how and the why and the when to express it, right? But until we pulled apart the morning And we really, really got into the deeper meaning of it. We really dug in and discovered that it really is all good all the time. The idea of saying good morning seemed much, much smaller, didn't it? That's my whole point, sort of. Okay, it's my job to examine ways to get people in seats here, or butts in the pews, as they say. And the fact is that the vast majority of small independent churches are faced with the same dilemma. Lots of pews and fewer butts to hold them down. And that's okay. Because what looks like lack from one person's perspective looks like family to another's. In the Gospel according to Matthew chapter 18, verse 20, it says, where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, there I am in the midst of them. One butt on one pew, plus one other. Matthew's gospel tells us it just takes a couple of them, and suddenly this whole space is filled with God. But here we are, a whole bunch of butts, right? Okay, let me rephrase that, because that's probably not the approach that I should be taking here this morning. All right, I realize now that I can't teach about gratitude if I'm calling everybody butts. I mean, I can, but it probably shouldn't. I should probably find a less fourth grade humor approach, maybe. Something more serious and solemn, befitting of this sage role that I'm meant to fill. You all know that's not going to happen, right? That is not going to happen. You know exactly how serious and solemn I get. Which is to say, I don't. Give me one moment. What did we say frogs were? A group of frogs is an army. I have the whole army up in here. All right. Now, I have done some homework on this whole fill the pews thing. And I think it's really relevant to what I'm talking about here today. The question is, why don't people come to church nowadays? And there are many, many, many answers to that. There are all sorts of them, and many places to place blame. So why even bother with that? It's silly. I think the better question is, what are people interested in? And I have noticed that all over social media, there are accounts with hundreds and thousands and hundreds of thousands and even millions of followers, which post these quick little snippets all about manifesting good and wealth and love and all the warm fuzzies. Bite-sized how-tos without the why it works. But the why is the reason that we're here, because when you understand the why, you can dial it up. You can drive it right through the roof. There are countless 1-minute videos where somebody films their cat and plays a sound over the top which says, use this sound in your next video for a financial windfall. I wish I was kidding. Okay? So there are thousands of people doing this. They're playing they're making these videos with this sound, and they're like, yes, the money is coming, and they're waiting for a nickel to land in their lap mysteriously. Meanwhile, here we sit in the lap of luxury, knowing that we're already abundant. There's no video or sound or mysteriously manifested nickel that's necessary for us, right? Because we have that cliched thing that we've all heard tell of, that attitude of gratitude. And that is the ultimate sound to reap all abundance. Be thankful for it all. Just like our good morning a few minutes ago, the folks making their 1-minute play this sound video clips have no idea how wonderful their life is, so they film in desperation, clinging to what's missing and hoping to fill that which they believe that they lack. never knowing that it is the very act of recognizing that there is nothing lacking, which creates the windfall. No, those quick fixes, the how without the why, and if we're being real, even the how is pretty stingy on these things, right? They are not where it all happens. That's not where the blessing is born into beauty. The how without the why might give you some rewards, kind of like when you're chasing those samples down the Costco aisles, right? But when you've got the why and the gratitude to raise it up and max it out, you don't need those stingy little samples because you realize you're already at a banquet table. That little how is like glitchy Wi-Fi, right? Always buffering, hoping that the signal holds. But if you put gratitude in back of that, it's a hard wire to source a strong and steady connection that never drops. The truth is that plastic flowers might look good on Instagram, but they don't grow. They don't multiply. They don't carry the fragrance of life. Gratitude is a seed. You plant it, you water it, and you watch it bloom into miracles beyond your imagining. Gratitude is the banquet table. It's the feast already set. Gratitude is the hard wire, that signal that never fails. Gratitude is the seed, the power of life unfolding. Gratitude is the doorway, the practice, the prayer, the praise. The knowing that what we appreciate appreciates. See, we laugh. And that's good, but gratitude isn't just about manifesting money or counting heads or filling seats. It's about filling the heart with love and changing lives into ones where good and abundance overflow so that every day is a blessing met with gladness. It's about focusing on good in order to invite more in rather than looking at the bad and bringing in worse. In our readings today, all of them talk about being grateful for good and focusing only on that, rather than focusing on the bad and experiencing that. They all express that, yes, we can have all the lack and the worry and the discomfort that we want, and we can focus on and invite more and more of it in. And we will continue to experience the consequences of those choices for as long as we do that. And they all express that all it takes is gratitude. Gratitude for everything that happens, making the choice to embrace it all, to trust that it's all a pathway forward, to know that even the difficult stuff is meant to usher in wonderful rewards. It's just gratitude. Remember what Sufi mystic and poet Rumi said: welcome and entertain them all, even if they're a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and welcome them in. Be grateful for whoever comes because each has been sent as a guide from beyond. And some of the most powerful and identifiable people in the world have discovered this very truth. There's a story that you've probably heard pieces of, but when you step inside it, it takes on a whole new life. Oprah Winfrey, she was born in rural Mississippi to a life that from the outside looked like limitation. Poverty, hardship, uncertainty. If ever there was a child who could have learned to see only lack, it was Oprah. But somewhere along her journey, she discovered something extraordinary. That the way you see your life creates the life you see. In the 90s, when her fame and her influence were just beginning to rise, Oprah began keeping a very simple practice, and it was a gratitude journal. We've all tried that now and then, right? Every night, Oprah would write down 5 things that she was grateful for. Not glamorous things, not the stuff of magazine covers or television shows, small, ordinary, soul-soothing things. One night she wrote, "A run with a slight breeze." She was thankful for a run, y'all. I have never been thankful for a run. Breeze or no breeze. But I digress. Another night she wrote, "Eating cold melon on a bench." Another night she wrote, "Watching the dogs tumble on the lawn." Do you hear it? The wealth she was naming wasn't material. It was in the taste of fruit and the feel of the wind and the joy of play. None of these things make headlines, but here is the miracle. Her life became the headline. Because gratitude turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Over time, she began to notice something. The more that she named what she already had, the more she seemed to have. And she says it herself. She said, gratitude is its own energy field. When you acknowledge and are grateful for whatever shows up in your life, it allows more to be drawn to you. Grace mirrors the gratitude you have. This wasn't just positive thinking, it was a vibration. It was a frequency. And like a magnet, it began to draw more good into her life. And of course, Oprah is very famous for vision boards. I think she may have been the first major public figure to really draw that awareness. She filled hers with images of what she desired. The magazine, the network, all the opportunities, and those things manifested, yes. But the power behind the vision board wasn't the cutout pictures. You can make it as artistic as you want, but the power is in the gratitude that she felt while she made it. The energy of, I already live in abundance. And wouldn't this abundance be beautiful too? And think of the results. From those simple journals and that quiet practice came the building of a media empire, the influence of a global platform, and the transformation of literally millions of lives. She rose from the dirt roads of Mississippi to become one of the most recognizable and beloved figures in the world. But if you ask her what the real secret is, she doesn't point to money or fame. She points to gratitude. Oprah has said that gratitude is her religion. She begins with her breath, giving thanks for the miracle of every heartbeat. She calls gratitude the practice that changes everything. She says, when you are grateful for what you have, you end up seeing that you have more than you could imagine. Oprah's story isn't about being a billionaire or a celebrity or a magazine cover. It's about noticing. It's about choosing to see the abundance already here. She proved that you don't have to wait for your life to change in order to feel grateful. Gratitude is what changes your life. But hers is a big name. And being the truthful journalist I was raised to be, thank you, Mom, I have to say that the facts of the story point to her gratitude practice starting after success was already stirring. Although it is pretty clear to anyone who knows any of the details of her tough childhood. How many people are somewhat familiar with Oprah growing up? Okay, I know it's pretty clear to you that she had to have begun that gratitude journey a whole lot sooner than it appears. She had to have begun it far, far, far before she began breaking the mold of poverty her life appeared to be destined for. But I can give you only the facts, not the suppositions. So here's another familiar face with a beautiful story. And this particular familiar face has done some really extraordinary work on presence and ego in the past several decades. So I look forward to sharing more about his journey if I'm able. He's very quiet these days. But before Jim Carrey was a household name, before the rubber-faced comedy and the box office hits, he was just another struggling actor in Hollywood. He was broke. He was living out of his car sometimes. He was just another face in an ocean of dreamers. And his story could have ended there. Just one more unknown name here in LA. A place that's filled with unknown star seekers. But in 1992, Jim did something extraordinary and extraordinarily simple. He sat down and he pulled out his checkbook and he wrote himself a check. Not for rent money, not for a modest sum to get by, but for $10 million. And in the memo line, he wrote, "For acting services rendered." He folded it, he put it in his wallet, and he carried it with him everywhere he went. But this wasn't just paper. It was prayer. Every time he opened that wallet, he saw not the lack in his life, but the abundance he was calling forth. He didn't say one day, maybe. He said, "Thank you, God, it is already so, and I see the proof right there." Jim's practice wasn't just visualization, it was gratitude, daily, deliberate gratitude. He lived as though it had already happened, thanking the universe for what his eyes could not yet see. And here's the thing, his life began to shift quickly. He started getting auditions and roles and momentum, and by 1994, 2 years later, he starred in The Mask and Ace Ventura. And then came Liar, Liar, and then Dumb and Dumber. His career didn't just open, it exploded. And in 1997, 5 years after he wrote that check for $10 million, Jim Carrey was cast in Dumb and Dumber, and his paycheck for that film was exactly $10 million. 5 years from nameless and faceless and broke to $10 million. But the story doesn't end there. When his father passed, Jim placed that old check, that one that had lived in his wallet, held his faith and carried his prayers. He placed it into his father's casket. Why? It was one more deeply meaningful act of gratitude. Not for the money and not for the fame, but for the journey. For the man who believed in him. And for the grace that carried him from empty pockets to overflowing abundance. What Oprah's journals and Jim Carrey's check both reveal is this. Gratitude is not passive. It is not simply saying thank you for the good you see, although that's a beautiful beginning. Gratitude is a creative force. Oprah looked at the smallest joys, a breeze, a slice of melon, dogs tumbling on the grass, and in thanking them, her life expanded into unimaginable abundance. Can you conceive of what it must be like to live in that life? Jim Carrey thanked the universe for a future that did not yet exist. And in that gratitude, he aligned himself with a reality so real, it became flesh before its appointed time. Gratitude doesn't wait until the gift is in your hand. Gratitude is the act of holding out your hands and saying, maybe I can't see it yet, but I already have it. Thank you. The universe echoes back what we declare. If we say, I don't have enough, It answers, you're right, you don't. And there will always be plenty of not enough in your life. But if we say, look at all this abundance all around me. The universe sings back, yes, and more's on the way. So here's the invitation. Be like Oprah, finding joy in a breeze. Be like Jim, thanking God for a future not yet visible. Let your gratitude be more than a response. Let it be your way of creating, of shaping, of calling forth, because when you live in gratitude, you discover the truth. You were never lacking. You were always rich. So, the deeper invitation is this. Start with your breath. Start with your body. Start with the coffee in your hand in the morning, the smile of a friend, the way the morning light falls through your window. Start there. Because what you appreciate appreciates. Because friends, you don't need more stuff. You don't need more likes or follows or miraculous coins dropped in your lap. You need eyes to see. You need a heart to awaken. You need the gratitude that transforms enough into more than enough. And when you walk in that truth, you find out that you've been rich all along. And I'm going to say once again, this very, very powerful affirmation. It is perhaps one of the most powerful affirmations that I know. And you may want to take a moment to write it down, because it could be exactly the reminder you need to keep you supercharged. So if you would, please repeat this after me. What I appreciate appreciates. One more time with me. What I appreciate appreciates. One more time. What I appreciate appreciates. And I appreciate you. Thank you.